Hello there, Julian. Okay, just a few comments here. This is the one you did in your test center, more or less. Okay, so I'm going to look at it quite briefly, all right? Looks as though you got the structure okay. Few problems here that grandparents, okay, yet others believe, okay, child care centers can do better. Okay, not bad, but we just needed to introduce some hedging, and remember that's what's called an empty sentence. All right, there's no content there. We need to make it relevant to the actual essay. Okay, then the rest doesn't look too bad. Okay, all right then. The reason is that the grandpa got slept. You can't say got slept, you have to say fell asleep. Okay, alright, looks good. I think you'll have scored well. Alright, it's difficult to say because it's not the exact same one that you wrote beforehand, and you might have had the spell checker on. I'm not so sure, but either way, let's carry on pushing and take precautionary measures, okay, just in case you didn't get that 7. Alright, let's get going. So many people derive sounds better, or we could just even use the verb and say many people benefit from the advances humankind is providing nowadays, yet these benefits could be boosted if copyright protection did not exist, because it's the conditional. This essay will argue that there is no point in having laws about this. I wouldn't have said no point, I would have said this essay will argue it is redundant in having laws. This essay will argue the laws are not necessary, or even better, will argue the laws are unnecessary. Alright? Firstly, by having copyright legislation, the free access to information and ways to do things are restricted. Right. This is very vague. Do things. Okay? Let's avoid using verbs like do and objects such as things, okay, because it's too vague. We want to use our vocabulary, okay, and we're going to say, and ways to produce art are restricted, okay? People with the capacity to improve it, find themselves limited in showing to the world what they can perform. This was the case about... No. Follow the sentence guide. Okay? Let's see. So, for example, there was an invention belonging to the inventor Leonardo da Vinci. He designed a weapon capable of shooting 60 arrows per minute. Later, Aaron Porth improved it to shooting 90 in the same time. Such developments could not be adopted as the original creation did not belong to him. Thus, in order for everyone to derive benefits from the existence of any information or creation in society, copyright laws should not be as strict as they are. Okay, not bad. I was a bit confused as to where we were going, but you pulled it back with the thus sentence, so well done. Secondly, far from being a way of awarding and recognizing, let's make them parallel, yeah? But it's good vocabulary. If we'd have made it parallel, it would have been much better, Julian. But well done. We're rewarding and recognizing legislation regarding intellectual property protection in society is robbing people of deriving benefits from the invention or creations of others. Once again, we'll make this parallel, okay? And here I said regarding, just because it sounds more formal. Free access to it should be allowed. What is it here? Okay? If we're talking about inventions or creations, then we should at least say these, okay? In Colombia, for example, a scientist, Manuel Elkin Patarroyo, created the vaccine to combat malaria. Full stop. He did not claim any protection about his creation, allowing anyone to access it for production without restriction without restrictions, full stop. Therefore, this thing can be applied to matters protected by copyright legislation, such as books, digital or printed material, making it affordable for everybody, full stop. Now, one word of advice, Julian. I can see in both cases you've gone for the extremely specific case of people and their names. Okay, that's not bad, but if you'd have just chose the more basic argument, you could have used recent studies, okay, and it's more likely that the examiner will be able to follow it, okay, because I don't know who Manuel Elkin Patarroyo is, okay, and I'm taking the voice of the examiner now. I don't know who he is, and I'm not going to go on Wikipedia to look for him, okay, so if I don't know who he is, then it's a bit tricky, okay? Whereas if you'd have said something like recent studies by Columbia University made advances in vaccines regarding vaccines to combat malaria. These were later made available for everybody, blah, blah, blah. Then it's much easier for me to follow, okay? But well done, though. It's good. Very, very good. Okay, and I also want you to pay attention to your time as well. Make sure you're doing these in 40 minutes, okay? To conclude, human features, I wouldn't have said human features, human characteristics such as creativity, curiosity, and desire for a better world might be enhanced if the access and use of all kind of creations do not have restrictions. Very, very good. Okay, but look at look at the sentence guide. Okay, we could have made it parallel. We could have made the list a little bit better by saying 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that's the normal way to do a list. And also try to spot negative constructions and change them into negative verbs. Okay, let's have a look at your task 1. The chart shows percentages. The chart shows percentage calorie intake by males in 3 groups aged, very good, and those over 50. The sources of such consumption are milk products, meat, grains, and vegetables. Very good. I wouldn't have said grains, and I said pulses. And it's not always necessary to look for synonyms, okay? We could just say dairy here, for example. According to the figures, the major source of calories in the over 50 group comes from pulses, 65%. Good. Whereas the smallest consumption of these products is for men aged 25 to 49, full stop. On brackets, 10%, full stop. Good. Those in the range 0 to 24 show a more balanced intake of energy, where meat, grains, and vegetables share almost the same proportion, 20%, 18%, and 20% respectively. Very good. However, dairy products destaca. No? However, dairy products stand out, okay, as the major calorie source, 43%. Very good, very good. Now I can see we've used all these percentages all the time. What could have we said? We could have said just over half, just around a fifth, a tenth, okay? So try and use those in the next one. Men between 25 and 49 consume mainly meat at 50%, while in the other 2 groups the percentage was the same, 20%. Okay, which other 2 groups? Age groups or food groups? You should have said food groups really, and was the same at 20%. Brackets, pulses and vegetables, or whatever it was. Veggie is colloquial, okay? So regarding vegetables, the over 50 shows or indicates a less favored preference, or shows less preference at 10%. However, men until 25, I don't understand that last bit. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. Let's just see. So, okay, regarding vegetables, men over 50, no, subject, verb, object. Okay, so regarding over 50, vegetables, regarding the over 50 group, vegetables are the least favored. However, men in the second group have double that consumption, brackets 20%, and the youngest group are slightly below at 15%. Okay, that would have been a good way to put it. Okay, subject, verb, object. Overall, it can be seen in the chart that dairy products are the main calorie source for those 0 to 24. Meat is for the middle group, and pulses for the elderly. Okay, and we're just using some more synonyms there. But great work, Julian. And yep, let's keep on pushing. Let's keep on improving. And if you know anybody who's struggling with the IELTS writing, please send them an email. CC me on the email if you want to. But just make sure they're similar quality to you, like hardworking, intelligent, smart, and most importantly, willing to put the work in. All the best, buddy.